Hi, and today I'm gonna present about the Equifax breach analysis and the strategic recommendations for me for them to how to solve their problem. I've prepared this for the analysis of the 2017 Equifax breach that is focusing on the strategic lessons learned in outlining necessary defensive and offensive steps for the organization to protect their customer. And this support is informed by the principles and frameworks studied in our course. And the Equifax breach was a catastrophic privacy failure exposing highly sensitive PII for over like 140 million consumers. The losses were immense, leading to over $600 million in resolution cost. The fundamental entry point, or attack vector, was the exploitation of an unpatched vulnerability of the Apache Struts web application framework. And the core failure was um, Equifax violation of the protect and identify function of the NIST CSF. And the attack succeeded due to a simple failure poor patching. The critical patch for the Apache script flaw was publicly available in March 2017. Yet the breach wasn't detected until the two-line 29th. This delay exposed the organization to an exploit the hackers were actively probing for. This demonstrates the systemic governance issue, a lack of executive alignment, and adequate funding for the continuous vulnerability management process. Architecturally, the breach revealed major security weaknesses. So, once inside, the attackers move laterally through the network. This indicates profound failure in implementing defensive depth via network segmentation. Furthermore, there was clearly insufficient enforcement of the principle of least privilege, allowing the single compromise system to become springboard to the rest of the critical data. Moreover, there are also missteps in the incident response. Equifax response amplified the damage as well. The major mistake was prolonged detection time. Months after attacker activity went unnoticed, a failure of detect the component of NIST. This allowed the attacker to maximize the data depth. Their subsequent poor and delayed communication and response and recovery phases severely eroded trust and triggered lawsuits. This highlights the necessity of constantly trained and tested IR team to avoid severe financial reputational penalties. So I'll have some strategic recommendations for the firm in this research, since the focus would be speed and aggressive containment. I would use the formal IR life cycle to treat the detection as a critical event. Immediate actions include pre-approved order for containment, isolating the affected network segment, the equivalent of medical tonic. This is allowed. This is followed by rapid forensic analysis to scope the attack, eradication of all malicious code and backdoors, and then restoration from trusted backups in the recovery state. The most important lesson here is that the IR capability must be constantly rehearsed to IR exercise and drills. I also have some protection pillars, such as the immediate defense enhancements for the organization, center on three pillars. Continuous patching. We must implement the automated tools to rigorously monitor the deployed patches for all internet-facing systems, especially third-party software like abstracts. The second one is network segmentation, deploying VLANs and strict default deny firewall rules to isolate the critical PI databases from web application servers. The third one is the privilege access management, that is implementing multi-factor authentication for all administrative and remote access, and use a robust PAM solution to audit strictly controlled super user accounts. Another, last but not least, the proactive hunting. The defensive controls are never enough. We must adopt an offensive cybersecurity mindset, which is the validation of security control. This means continuous penetrating testing, schedule a regular external black box pen test to find exploitable flaws before the attackers do, or divide it into two teams. Red team run a covert red team simulation that mimic the attacker's campaign to proactively test the detection and response capabilities of the the organization blue team. Third one is secure development lifecycle for our online purchasing application. Mandate an SEL process. This includes using threat modeling methodology like Stride or PASTA during the design phase to anticipate application flaws that could expose the data. So there are some key lessons for the organization over here. That is like there are three main key lessons. The first one, cybersecurity is the core business risk. The massive financial losses prove that security is an executive level priority, not is just a regular IT task. Secondly, vulnerability management is the MVP. The easiest and cheapest defense is timely patching. We must correct our vulnerability assessment, evaluation, and testing cycle. And last but not least, privacy requires security. Failure to maintain the basic security hygiene directly leads to a massive privacy harms, underlining close relationship between the two domains. In conclusion, the Equifax breach was an avoidable operation failure. Our path forward is a unified strategy that blends the rigorous defensive pillars with proactive offensive testing. We, I must commit to continuous patch management and IR readiness. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening. And this is the resource page for the images.